Alright guys, first off, as always, good day. Glad you're here. So this is continuation from the World War One videos. Okay, so here is your warm-up picture. Now, if your warm-up picture from your packet does not look like this, then you clicked on the wrong video. Okay, so you may have to go back to the list of movies on my YouTube channel and go find the one that says more than likely the World History, US History Part 2 and 3. Okay. But if your warm up picture does look like this, you're on the right video. So as you can see, there's not much to this picture. So obviously, first one, what do you see? Okay. Make the list, look at the background, look at the items. What do you see? Okay. Now the second question is a little different than usual. It asks you, which would you rather do? Okay, now I want you guys to really truly think about this question. Do not do like this fantasy role playing in your head that if you were in World War One, you would just be there with a machine gun, just mowing down people, just standing there like in the movies and stuff like that, or like in a video game. Think of it as like if it was real life, like you were back in 1916, 1917, and you were asked either to do one thing or another. And one of those things is going to war. You get shot, you may just die. You know, if you get shot in a particular area, if you don't die immediately, you're certain to die there because nobody would come get you. Okay. So answer this question, the second question, truthfully. Which one would you do? The option to your left, you know, or the option to your right? Okay, so really think about it. Write down what you would do. Okay, so the notes are about to start in three, two, one. So here's the thing. The United States had 2 million men volunteer to fight. Okay, but the thing is, the government basically felt that's not enough people to actually fight in this war. They needed more. So what they did is they instituted the draft. Okay, now the draft is basically you're picked and then they give you a physical. If let's say you have no cartilage in your knee, so basically it's like bone grinding against bone on your knee, um, then they would put you on the back of the list. But if you're a healthy male, things like that, then you go up front. The thing is, in this time of the United States, there's a lot of African Americans in the South who are treated less than people. They're treated, I mean, animals are treated better than some African Americans in the South. Okay. And the thing is, 400,000 African Americans get drafted. Now, again, it's not just in the South, it's from the West Coast, the East Coast, and the North, as well as the South. Okay. Now, right away, there's about 42,000 soldiers who are sent to the front. These guys are basically given quick training on how to shoot, how to march, things like that, and they're taken over there. Now, basically, what they did is they didn't allow the white soldiers and black soldiers to fight together. They segregated them, and also they didn't want any black people to rank up higher because if they get ranked up, that means they are going to be in like higher than some white soldiers just coming in. So that's the thing. They didn't want the white soldier to be like, well, if a black man is going to be my commanding officer, I'm not going to listen to him, or they might desert, or they might just not fight. So to prevent that, the U.S. government didn't rank up any black soldiers. So basically, like a soldier could have done like what Sergeant York did, and basically took out a whole group of soldiers. They would just be still the same rank, the lowest rank possible. Whereas the white people would rank up. So the commanding officers for the black soldiers were all white. Okay. Now this is where trench warfare comes in. So if you look on the map, there's a red line. You'll say Eastern Front on your right side. That trench line goes all the way down. Okay. You should know what a trench is from your vocab words. Okay. Now if you look to the west, to your left side, there's a red line and it goes from basically on top of France all the way down. And then when it gets to Switzerland, it stops because, again, Switzerland is a neutral country. Okay. And if you look down below Switzerland, it goes through Italy. That trench line, um, again, it doesn't go through Switzerland because Switzerland is neutral. But the thing is, soldiers from both sides create these trenches. Um, they're dug deep, and they basically held each other at bay. You know, with basically one of the biggest weapons that was a machine gun. Now, the area between the two trenches, here's a trench here, here's a trench here. That area between became known as no man's land because if, let's say, one side decides to charge all of a sudden, they're running through this area, which is like usually a couple hundred yards, um, and they would charge, charge, charge. The other side would then mow them down just with the machine gun, da, 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 take them down. So when those people retreated, a lot of times the other side said, let's attack. So they would get up and go, and they would get mowed down as well. And again, those people who got shot, got injured, um, they were left there to fend for themselves. Okay, because nobody's gonna go back to get them because they'll get shot. You know, and not only that, but there's also bombs being or grenades being launched to that area. Um, so you would die if you didn't get killed outright. You would die out there. You know, and also there's stories about like rats eating the dead people. You know, because it's just food out there, and the rats, the forest area is that whole land area is just wasted, annihilated. So sometimes animals, birds, rats would come and eat the dead bodies. So April 1915, the Second Battle of Ypes is the first battle to actually see poison gas being used. Okay, now the thing is, when they saw like the smoke and the gas coming up, the soldiers were like, "Whoop whoop! It's it's like smoke." And they inhaled it in, and immediately they started vomiting. They started losing their eyesight. It'd be like kind of like a fog going over their eyes, and then they can't see. Also, their esophagus, their throat area, would basically close up and basically choke them to death. So it's from then on that the soldiers, as you see in that picture, started wearing gas masks. Now, even to this day, the army and other branches of the military trained soldiers to put on gas masks the right way. They put them in a room, they open a canister of gas, and if they don't get it right, they will be like coughing, they'll be like throwing up, things like that. Okay, so still to this day, since April 1915, soldiers have been trained to put on gas masks. Now, there are some inventions that are created, and this is the first time that a tank was seen. Okay, again, they wanted to cross the no man's land without people getting injured, things like that. They could take a hit and keep going. The thing is, though, these British tanks were very, very slow and they were unreliable. And they would pretty much easily get destroyed. Okay, so if you ever played the game Battlefield 1 and you played the story mode, you would know about the tanks from there. Alright, so you at least have a good idea. Now, if you watch the previous lectures or watch the previous video, you would know about the passenger ships getting sunk by the German U-boats. Well, no American ship carrying soldiers got sunk on the way to Europe. And that's mainly because these ships carrying soldiers, they had guns on them. They had, underground land mines or sea mines, to destroy German U-boats. Okay. Now the thing is, like I told you, trench warfare is very slow. You don't really move. You're just there because you can't really advance. It's hard to advance to the other side. So riots broke out because people were working. If they weren't fighting, they were working. They were working the farms, working the factories, and they realized, the government's not handling this war very well because we've been here for years. We haven't gained an inch, and thing is, we're wasting food, we're wasting fuel, we're wasting manpower, everything, and for what? So the Russian people are starting to think maybe this is not the best thing for us. Now, this is where this guy, Vladimir Lenin, comes in. He's the leader of the Bolshevik Party, and they basically overthrow the Russian government and establish the Communist Party. Now, the communists basically believe like everyone should have a job, people should get what they deserve, the basic needs, and that, everyone should be, in a sense, kind of equal. So on paper, yeah, it looks real good, but in real life, it sucks. Because again, they say like everyone should get a job. Okay, but the thing is, you don't get the job you want. If they need a butcher, and just say you were spent your life training to be an artist, or a welder, they're like, no, no, we got plenty of welders. We're gonna put you as a butcher. That was your job. The basic needs was truly that basic, you know. Um, and if you were part of the government, you lived pretty well. You got more clout as opposed to some random Joe. Okay. Now this question will definitely be on your next quiz. Russians' first act, well, under Lenin, was to get out of the war. Now, anytime somebody surrenders in a war, they have to sacrifice something. So on March 3rd, 1918, they signed the treaty with Germany, and they had to give up a lot of territory. They had to give up Ukraine, they had to give up Finland, and they had to give up territories in the Polish and Baltic areas. So that's a lot of land. Excuse me. The other thing is, um, think like this: Germany is fighting off two people, one to their left, one to their right, and they're fighting them both. They're trying to fight them both. And Russia is right here, and they basically knock them out. Bam, out cold. Where does your attention go to right then? Do you still focus on that person you knocked out cold, or do you look at the person who you're still fighting? And you look at the person you're still fighting. That's what Russia does, or sorry, Germany does. They're like, okay, we're done with Russia. Now we can focus on France, Britain, and United States. And they do that. But the thing is, they're losing. And on July 15th, 1918, German troops basically like suck it up, and they're like, let's go for one big last hoorah. And they start charging the French and American lines and at the Second Battle of Marne, and basically the Germans lose and they're pushed back. Well, about 3 days later, United States and France like, they're still hurting. We got them good. Let's attack. So they do, and they basically push Germany back. Now the thing is, they don't let Germany go back, and that's it. No, they keep chasing them, chasing them, chasing. So they can't really rest. They can't really set up defensive um, structures, things like that. They got them on the run. Okay. All right. So President Wilson presented a plan called the 14 points. And one of the last points was this thing called the League of Nations. The League of Nations would basically help preserve peace and prevent future wars by pledging to basically respect and protect each other's territories and political independence. Now, in October 1918, the Ottoman Empire signed a treaty with these allies, and they're out of the war. November 4th, Austria-Hungary reaches an armistice. Now, what that means is it's like a truce. You know, we will stop fighting if you guys will stop fighting. Okay. Now, Germany is very upset. They're like, what are you thinking? No, you should be fighting to the last man. Come on. And a week later, Germany is like, yeah, we want part of that armistice, peace, truce type of thing. Think we can get on that? So Germany is the last holdout. And at the Paris Peace Conference, the Allied leaders, from Britain, France, uh, United States, Belgium, they get together and they state their desire to build a post-war world where they would stop future conflicts. Remember, this war was not known as World War One. It was known as the war to end all wars. Because never in the history of the world has this many countries fought against each other, you know, at one time. So they're thinking about the future. How can we stop all these things? Well, again, Wilson had an idea, and it was one of his 14 points. So June 28th, 1919, at the Treaty of Versailles, basically the Germans had to agree to these things. One of them, they were stripped of their army. They could not have an army whatsoever. They had to pay for reparations. So basically, they had to pay the bill for the Americans, the British, the French, the Belgium, things like that. They recently just paid it off within the past, I think, like 20 years. They paid it off. And also, they had to acknowledge that they are guilty for the outbreak of the war. Okay. Um, Again, they didn't start it, really, but because they were the last holdout and because some historians believe because of what Germany did to our passenger ships that we made that as a condition. They have to admit they started the war, but they didn't. So here's the thing. Though at the Paris Peace Conference, I told you there was this country that said, let's get together and that League of Nations thing is a good idea. We should do that. So Belgium, France, Russia, Britain, they all sign up for the League of Nations. But there's one country who says no, and that's the United States. The United States, even though our own president said, no, we should join in, this is a great idea. There's Americans who felt, no, we should not be involved in this League of Nations. Why? Because we are Americans. What happens over there in Europe, that's their problem. They caused it, let them have it. Again, America, they're being isolationist, right? So let's take care of ourselves. We got these oceans beside us. Let that be our border. Let us take care of ourselves and let's not worry about the rest of the world. But there were some people who felt, no, we need to know what's going on around the world because if something happens and we don't step in, it's going to take over. And it might be too late for us to do something. Okay? So here is your final question. Do you believe that the United States should have joined the League of Nations? Do you agree with the isolationist people or everyone else who said we should, be involved and know what's going on around the world? Okay, so what do you think? Should we have joined, or shouldn't we have joined? And justify your answer, guys. Make sure it's legitimate, like you actually thought about it, and don't just put some random thoughts. Okay. So that's it for the notes. Hopefully you had a good day, and that you learned something new. Okay. Don't forget to put your name on the front page on the top, and also be sure you turn it into the black basket. Okay. Do not put it on my desk. Okay. It will get lost. Don't hand it to me. Again, put it in the basket. Okay. So that's it. Hopefully, you guys had a good day. Hopefully, you learned something new. All right, I'll see you guys later. So take care and be safe.